Right, so we are going to have fun. We are not going to just sit and do a medical lecture, which I could do. I'm fascinated by the topic of sleep and human performance. And we really want to look at what can we do differently. So I've had the privilege of chatting to a few of you before we started, and we've got some good sleepers, we've got some caffeine addicts, we've got some alcoholics, and a wide spectrum of ages. So I'm really pleased that we have all of you in the room, and we're going to have some honesty hour in terms of what you want to do differently. So this is about your superpower. It's about individualizing it. I have got 34 tips. So safety belts on, we are going to go fast. There are 10 topics, but it's about what do you want to do as an individual, because you will have wasted your time if you walk out of here tonight and you don't change one habit. I want you to walk out of here saying, hey, sleep is my superpower. I feel absolutely vibrant and fantastic, and I can take on the world. And actually, that's the can-do attitude that we want in terms of handling change. So to Rihanna's point, I didn't call my business Resilient People Bounce Back. In fact, I think we should eradicate those words out of the English language. Bounce back. Whoever bounces back? You go through change. We're talking about restructuring, you and I. You go through any type of adversity, loss, trauma, buying a new business. You never bounce back. You're always continuously learning, and you are going to bounce forward. So that's what I'm looking at, is how do we bounce forward? And how do we use our brain to do that? So 2 questions here. First question, can your brain grow new brain cells? Yes, but you're a medical student. I've already chatted to you. So you don't get a prize, okay? I know you're Adam's daughter, but I can't remember your name. I met you a few minutes ago, Kelly. Okay, so you can grow new brain cells. Now you can't nod or shout out. How many can you grow per day? And it doesn't matter what age you are. So you can be 95 in the shade and still grow new brain cells. Anyone know? No, actually, and it's not a bad guess because we've got billions in our brain. But you can grow 700 new brain cells per day. So you can actually get cleverer per day. I mean, if you think of how that accumulates, 365 days of the year times the 700. So we really want to look at how we can maximize what is between these 2 ears. As Navratilova said, the game of life is played in the 6 inches between your 2 ears. So it doesn't matter what age you are here tonight. I'm hoping that sleep will be your superpower, and it's more important than what you eat, how you exercise, or what else you do in your life, okay? It's incredibly important in terms of longevity and brain power. And for all of us here, I think we could say that we want to live long, but we want to live well. Insufficient sleep is connected to dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all forms of cancer. So we have got to take this subject really, really seriously. In terms of doing something and being the can-do girl, I am fascinated with behavior change. If you're looking for a very good course or a very good book on behavior change, Professor B.J. Fogg from Stanford is the guru in the world. So he wrote the book, and he's got beautiful courses I've attended on tiny habits. And it's really around what are the simple, small things that you can integrate into your life that are not time-consuming, money-consuming, taking up a whole lot of bandwidth in your brain, but you can simply do daily as rituals. So that's what I'm going to share with you. What can you integrate into your life? It's simple. So tonight, Thursday, the 8th of December, we are planting the seeds. You're going to water those seeds, not with too much amber liquid or alcohol, but you can water it with a lot of other things, and then we are looking for impact. So we're looking for this time next year, I bump into you somewhere in Durban, you say, hey, Joni, I took these 1 or 2 things, and my life is quite different. So it's that serious tonight in terms of the behavior change. Somebody tonight asked me, Joni, why are you talking about sleep and what got you interested? And I thought that was a lovely question. Not many people say, after 27 years of running a business called Resilient People, why did you focus on sleep? So I'm going to share the backstory with you, and it is being real and vulnerable. And if Brené Brown can get 38 million people to watch her vulnerability TED Talk, I thought I would be vulnerable as well. So this is the first time I'm telling this story, actually, in one of my keynote talks. So it began here. Some of you in the room know my 23-year-old Brittany, and Nancy, if you ever tell her that I showed that picture of her, I'll be in severe trouble with her. So that is my younger daughter, Britt, who's now 23, my older daughter, Kayla, who'll be 25 this month. And that's our family, and Gareth and myself running a business. 28 years ago, we started it, and a lot of dynamite in terms of superwoman, where we're going, super business, and in our youth. And I thought I'd put this up because I knew we would have younger people here tonight. In our youth, we feel we've got that red cape and we can go anywhere until we don't. So tragedy struck, and my husband died of an aortic aneurysm while canoeing in Hungary. He was actually representing South Africa as a Springbok. And a very sudden, very unexpected death, very, very traumatic. And the reason I tell you that is that being left behind with my two daughters, who were 7 and 9 at the time, and our 3 dogs, is life was turned upside down. So stress was maximized and sleep was minimized. And these two things are inextricably linked. So it doesn't matter whether you're at med school or you're working overseas or whatever you're doing, is that we all face stress on a daily basis. So I'm not going to carry on talking about trauma and loss. I'm going to talk about everyday stress. So everyday stress is, how do I manage that? And the way I chose to manage it was using this little box up there on the right. So that's Still Not Sleeping tablet. I can tell you hand on heart, my 7-year-old and my 9-year-old were put to bed at 6 or 6:30 at night because I could not wait to swallow a Still Not Sleeping tablet. It knocked me out for 4 hours. I woke up at midnight. I thought, woof, can't handle that. Another one at midnight, sometimes another one at 4 a.m. So I was addicted to sleeping tablets, and it was the only way I could get through the day. Bearing in mind I was running my own business, and half of my business had died. So I literally was restructuring a business, trying to manage the clients, and trying to kind of be on my feet and keep going. So as life happens, sometimes life conspires to help you. And when I was going through that vicious circle, I started to think about this concept of bouncing forward. And I thought, I could live in this kind of donut circle where I don't sleep, I don't exercise, I'm stressed, I eat badly, and so it continues. And I noticed being on sleeping tablets, I was clumsy, I was dropping things, my memory was really bad. I just wasn't self-managing well at all. So I might have got some sleep, but it wasn't good, deep, restorative sleep. So I thought about this concept of life happens. We are going to need to bounce forward. And certainly in the way that I work, the way I lead my team, the way I lead my family, and the way I choose to live on a daily basis. So bounce forward has been quite a big part of my life in role modeling to my daughters that actually you can bounce forward from adversity. And it's a way I role model to the teams that I work with, going through change or restructuring or, doing, various retrenchments in business. It's very hard. How do you choose to reinvigorate and to bounce forward? And then life really threw a great surprise. And in March 2017, I was invited to talk with Arianna Huffington on stage in Washington, D.C. So I thought I should really read her book before I go and speak on stage. So that's my book over there, and I read her book. And I have to say, I didn't get through it. It's a good book. It's not a great book. I then thought, okay, let me look around who else is researching and writing about sleep. So Professor Matthew Walker is the guy. And it was interesting, at the same time that I was going to speak in Washington, D.C., that Investec said, hey, a year-end gift for their high net worth clients, they all got at the end of 2016, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, which I thought was fantastic. Saying, actually, for business people, this is an incredibly important subject. So that got me, that's the why did I get involved in sleep. It really got me intrigued and interested. I wasn't in Washington to speak about sleep. I was there to speak about mental resilience, emotional resilience, and a sense of purpose resilience. I came back to South Africa and I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I should do it properly. I work in the banking world, the baldy bankers, I was going to say, but I can see you've got a good sense of humor. So many of the guys that I work with are the kind of badge of honor, let's kind of work through the night and email journey at, midnight, etc., etc. If anybody emails me after 9 p.m., they get a rude response. Because I say, what are you doing emailing after 9 p.m.? It's not the productive time of the day. So I started studying cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia, and I was speaking to this gentleman over here who's doing a lot of good things at the break. And it's interesting to have a look at medical science now referring people with insomnia to cognitive behavior therapists, because there are certain behavior changes that you can make where you do not need medication. And the doctors that I deal with, because I deal with quite a few doctors, call insomnia the door handle conversation. So the patient is literally leaving the practice or leaving the rooms and getting to the door handle and saying to the doctor, oh, by the way, I have a sleep problem. They've come there for all sorts of other problems, but it's a by-the-way conversation. It should never be a by-the-way conversation. It is the main conversation in terms of health. So when we look at, oopsie, I've gone back there by mistake. When we look at insomnia, it's interesting for me now that bankers, I do a lot of work with bankers. Last week I was with a group of lawyers in a global markets division of a bank. And they specifically wanted only a sleep workshop. And I thought, hey, this is good. The news is getting out there. And I thought I'll research to see, are there any, bar associations, legal associations that are speaking about sleep. And the research was fascinating. So many of the legal associations around the world, this is the American Bar Association, have blogs and articles about sleep and productivity. So it's really becoming a mainstream productivity discussion. It's not just, oh, this is a nice thing to think about. It is now mainstream. So tonight, I want you to think about yourself. Yesterday, I was clever and I wanted to change the world, and I'm sure we got some world changes here. But today, I'm wise. So you are investing in yourself. What are you going to change for yourself? In terms of the workshops that we've done over the years, the last couple of years, clearly a lot online. And when I'm online, I ask people to enter into Mentimeter a word. How are they feeling? This is the summary of this year. I have found in my workshops locally and globally, people are more stressed and more overwhelmed in 2022. I see some nodding heads. So this it's like a long COVID. If you've had COVID, I've had COVID twice, Delta and Omicron, and it's affected my heart, and it's carried on for a long time. It seems like this year, stress, overwhelm, anxiety has absolutely peaked. So I want you to use your hands now, if you don't mind, and just show me, first of all, how many hours do you sleep during a weeknight? So fingers and thumbs. I'm seeing some good ones. Pardon? Count. Are you just using one hand, though? Maybe two. I'm seeing some good hands. Right, some half fingers at the back there. Okay. So we're going to talk about quantity, and we're going to talk about quality as well. And we're going to talk about the fact that your hours during the week should be very similar to the hours on the weekend. Now, I know there's some young party animals. David Bear's smiling from ear to ear. Is that, yes, the weekends may be vastly different. But let's have a look at how your brain is designed. So I brought my little spare brain along with me here, because this is the deal, this is the organ that we should be thinking about more often than we do. So we see everything else, and, we'll break a toe or a leg or whatever, and we'll worry about that. But this is the organ that cannot be replaced. So let's talk about what we can do differently with our brains. And then you should think about what has been your word in December. And I have banned in the businesses that I work the words stress, overwhelm, anxiety, hanging on by my fingernails, Joni, can't wait for the year to end. I always say to people, you know what? You're looking at November and December. It is 1/6 of your year. I don't like that fast forward button. You can get a hell of a lot done November and December. So if you've got the energy, it shouldn't be that mental pre-frame, hey, we're sliding down to December and therefore productivity drops. No. If you self-manage and self-care differently, you should get as much productivity out of November and December as you get out of May and June. Why not? So this is the circadian rhythm, and there's 3 slides here now on science, and then we're going to get into the 34 tips. So the circadian rhythm, when we were living out in nature, the sun rose, the brain said, okay, let's wake up, let's be wide awake, and let's see if there are lions or, buffalo or whatever's chasing us. Let's produce some cortisol so that we are absolutely alert. So cortisol gets produced, and I'll speak a bit about caffeine and cortisol later on and how they interplay. So this is good. This is good. You're wide awake. Your brain, your prefrontal cortex says, hey, let's do our best and most productive work now. Let's be quite strategic about what we want to do. And then that starts to taper off as the sun sets. And then before we lived in buildings with lights, we started to produce melatonin as the sun set. Of course, that production of melatonin is delayed now because of artificial light. So yes, we've got to be practical about how we live. We're not going to go and live back in caves. So how are we going to manage this melatonin and cortisol fluctuation? So many of you are sleeping 7 hours, which is great. Professor Matthew Walker, who now is the guy on sleep research, says not a minute less than 7 hours. There should be consecutive hours. Some of us have to wake up and go to the loo in the middle of the night. That's okay. And as you get older, youngsters, that gets worse. But you really want this bell curve. And you absolutely want to know your body. Aristotle said, knowing thyself is the beginning of wisdom. So I know if I'm getting a scratchy throat and not feeling so good, actually I need more than 7 hours. I probably need 8 hours. If I'm feeling absolutely fantastic, I actually do not need to set an alarm. I wake up automatically 7 and a quarter hours. And in Johannesburg, as Rihanna said, I still love to run. So I'm up now in summer at 4:30 in the morning. And my brain is just wide awake, and I'm refreshed, and I get up raring to go. So it's a lovely feeling when you've got that circadian rhythm, that body clock quite regulated, and your body knows what to do. This now is going to be the last slide on science, and then we'll get on to the 10 topics. And this is quality of sleep. So we need the 7 hours, but we also need deep restorative sleep. So we go to sleep, stage 1, you're just nodding off, and the dog barks, or there's a hooter, or there's something, and you're startled, and you're waking up, okay? So this, you're easily awake. Stage 4, you're in a beautiful, deep sleep. You then circle up, and you have a rapid eye movement. And you have a couple of cycles of this per night. Now, if you are imbibing more than 2 glasses of, let's call wine, I'm looking at that lovely red wine, as a male, more than 1 glass of wine as a female, this rapid eye movement gets badly affected. Actually, by 24% less rapid eye movement. Why do you need that rapid eye movement? So that you can consolidate the learnings of the day and your memory. So this will affect your restorative sleep. Alcohol will get you to sleep quite quickly, make you drowsy, make you feel terrible, but then, and you're going to get the sleep here, but you're not going to get that restorative sleep. So if you start to understand your body, you will have this deep stage 4 sleep, circle up, and then you can see it gets lighter and lighter, where you should wake up naturally. One of the tips I give people, if they are battling to get the quantity of sleep, I say, why don't you think about setting your mobile to tell you to go to sleep? Because that's often where we waste time. We kind of faff around or whatever, tell you to get to sleep on time, and then let your body do its thing. This ecosystem is beautifully designed to keep you healthy and strong. And we need this deep sleep because during the day, it doesn't matter how cleanly you eat, how much water you drink, you still develop a toxin in your brain called beta amyloid. It's a daily buildup you build up in your brain. And if you don't get deep stage 4 sleep, it does not get flushed out of your brain. So just think about plaque between your teeth. Okay, that happens on a daily basis. The plaque between your neurons, between your brain cells, is called beta amyloid. And if you're getting beta amyloid between your brain cells, you will get Alzheimer's or dementia. Okay, that is the science. In fact, we also are now calling any nighttime shift work carcinogenic. So if you're having to work at night and your body clock is not regulated, it is carcinogenic. Okay, so let's cover these 10 topics. Are you ready to go? 34 tips and 10 topics. And I'm going to start off with NSDR. Does anyone know what NSDR is? Very nice. And you would know because you do yoga nidra. Yes, you told me. Well done. Okay, so non-sleep deep rest. We do want our brains to grow. We want those 700 neurons. We want them to talk to one another with their synapses, neuroplasticity. We can change our brains. Do you know that this has only been the research that we know about in the last 20 years? So I often think to myself, gee, I'm 56 now. When I was 36, we didn't know about this stuff. So the biology and the research that's coming out is just fantastic. So yes, non-sleep deep rest, well done. And this guy, David and I were talking about him today, the CEO of Alphabet and Google, Sundar Pichai. Some of you might know that David works for Google. And he is a guy that speaks openly about managing his business, that beautiful, huge technology business that we all use on a daily basis. And he manages his stress by using NSDR. He says he has a much calmer brain, a much clearer brain, and he gets more done, productivity, by using NSDR. So what are the forms of NSDR that you can use? Certainly there's meditation, there's yoga nidra. If you're not familiar with yoga nidra, just Google it. It's really a simple, beautiful relaxation technique. You don't have to put your ankles behind your ears. It's a lie down and rest on the floor and have it scripted to you. Some good breathing techniques, and then some self-hypnosis or cognitive flexibility. So let me just share some practical ways of doing this. The first that I like to say to people is get outside and be on the grass, okay? So some of you youngsters, I put this in for you, okay? So you can get some bang for your buck time-wise while you're out there. And some of the oldies, you should be doing that as well, okay? No, not smoking grass. There's some weddings coming up. You could be out there and rekindle. So get outside and be on the grass. Be on the grass. And for those of you with youngsters, get out there and play and just touch Mother Nature. We have these rubber-soled shoes or leather-soled shoes, and we actually very often are not grounding ourselves. So I am in the habit. My home office in Johannesburg is if I'm on a phone call, I get outside in summer, take my shoes off, and I actually walk up and down the grass while I have a conversation. So get grounded. And on the weekends, I spend as much time sitting on that grass reading as I can to really just have my breathe out moments. The second thing around yoga nidra I've spoken about, this breathing technique. I once coached a CEO of a pharmaceutical company he came out from Sweden, and after the year of coaching, he took me out for lunch and he was going back to Sweden, and I said to him, what was the best part of the coaching for this year? He said, Joni, you taught me how to breathe. And I'm like, really? A whole year of coaching? This breathing technique is fantastic. It's the 4-7-8 breathing technique. It is medically researched by Dr. McCullough. So maybe let's do it. Let's do it, okay? And let's picture that you kind of, in fact, it could be a middle of the night situation where you wake up and your brain is zinging. I sleep incredibly well, except when something is happening with one of my daughters. If something is happening or I can't find them or there's an issue and my brain kicks in at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can be tickets as well. And this breathing technique helps me. So we'll just do 2 rounds of it. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and you breathe out for 8. So shoulders back and relaxed. I also do this at my desk. So I have that overwhelming feeling at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, thinking I'm never going to get through what I need to get through by 5 or 6 p.m. What am I going to prioritize? So just simply do this. It clears the brain. So let's breathe in for 4. I'll do it quite fast. Expand your rib cage. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathe out audibly. Many of us sit for many hours in the day and we've got a lot of stale air at the bottom of our lungs. So breathe in again for 4. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathe out as hard as you can. So that gets the parasympathetic system in your body kicked in, and it really starts to relax your brain. So I do this middle of the night, middle of the day. I probably use this about 5 times every single day, just to clear my mind, reprioritize. Or sometimes if I'm in a board meeting and it's going a bit pear-shaped, I'm like, jeepers, I don't know how to position this topic here because it's not going well. I'll do a 4-7-8 breathing. I'm not an app person and I'm not a technology person. So even when I was running Comrades, I never tracked how far I ran every week. I just don't do that kind of thing. This app I learned about at a biohacking conference in the States about 3.5 years ago. And I don't buy many apps because I'm not that kind of person. This is game-changing. So the World Economic Forum has spoken about the fact that one of the top 10 skills we need to be future fit as leaders is cognitive flexibility. And I often think to myself, so how do we get cognitive flexibility? And this is a technique for doing it, one of the techniques, self-hypnosis. So this is not, getting on stage and cluck, 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 behaving like a chicken. This is, although Julian's looking like he might want to do that later for us, this is all around actually how do you just center yourself. The doctor behind this is Dr. Dan Spiegel, very, very well researched. And I have only bought the sleep, improve your sleep mode here. I don't need any of the other modes. And funny enough, I'm going to show you another app. So I'm showing you 3 apps tonight. The other app I use for going to sleep at night, I only use the moments section of this app. So in the last 3.5 years, I use the moments section, and it's 1 minute. So I'm about to go online into a strategic meeting or, into a challenging situation. And he talks you through closing your eyes. He talks you through a breathing technique. They're vastly different, every one of those 1 minute moments. And it completely recenters me. I've also used it, I've tried it in the morning. Some nights you think, gee, I've had 7.5 hours sleep. I should be waking up raring to go. And you just wake up dwarf. Have you ever felt that? And you think, I didn't drink a lot last night or eat badly. Something is off, and I don't know what is off. But I've woken up feeling a little bit dozy. I'll do 2 of those 1 minutes, and I'm off to go. So it's a really, really useful. Most of us in this room, I guess, are time poor, yes, stress rich. So you can manage a 1 minute moment. It's absolutely game changing. Okay, so that's non-sleep deep rest. Let's speak a little bit about morning rituals. So what is the way that you choose to start your day? I speak to a lot of people who say, look, Joni, I get up and I'm really raring to go. And then they have this 10 a.m. slump or the 2 p.m. slump. So a good night's sleep starts from the minute you wake up. What are the morning non-negotiables for you? And for all of you running businesses or studying, the end of the day can be stolen from you quite easily, but the morning cannot be. So if there's one habit change you might want to change is why don't you set your alarm for 10 minutes earlier if you're in the habit of setting an alarm and use those 10 minutes. So here are some examples of how to be a human being and not a human doing. The first thing, and I'm just going to speak you through honestly what I do. The first thing I do is I have water as I wake up. So your brain overnight goes from a grape to a shriveled raisin. As that beta amyloid is washed out, your brain reduces in size every single night. So the worst thing you could do is have a cup of tea, coffee, or green tea as you wake up. You have got to reboot your brain with water as you wake up. So that's exactly what I do. I then do a short meditation of 12 minutes. I'll share that with you. I am not a journal person. I really wish I was. I'm just not. I've bought very fancy, very expensive journals with embossing of my name, and I've left them strategically over my house, and I never use them. So I honor people who do journal. Anyone here journal? It is incredibly good for your brain. There we go. But I do have a habit in the morning, is before I swing my feet over my bed, I actually kind of run through my day in lightning flash speed, and I think, what is the phrase for the day? And the phrase for the day was very sophisticated this morning on the 8th of December. It was va va vom. I'm doing a huge project for the States that has to be handed in on the 15th of December. So today, before I got out of bed, it was like, Joni, today better be va va vom. And then I'm in the habit, and this is from a great guy at Stanford, Professor Andrew Huberman. Do any of you know him? Yeah, he's brilliant. If you're not listening to his podcasts, you're missing out. Absolutely outstanding. And he speaks, he's an ophthalmologist and a neurobiologist. He speaks a lot about these two things here, which are protrusions of your brain, and how we should be using our eyes to reboot your brain. Very good science, and he's a very practical guy. So he speaks about the fact that, yes, get up and have water straight away, and then have at least 5 minutes of walking. So that forward modulation as you're walking, your brain starts to scan side to side, because when we lived in nature, where's that lion, where's that buffalo, what's happening? So those are one of the techniques that really gets your brain geared for the day. And if you don't want to walk, I simply, and it depends where I'm traveling, I will stand at a window or stand at a balcony, and I will always watch or try as early as possible to see that sunrise. I don't see the sunrise, but the early glow of the sun. So it's quite important for you to think, what are the tiny, simple little things that you could do that get your brain into gear? Because as you wake up, you want this brain in gear and have that in gear for the rest of the day so that you do sleep well. So quite often when I'm traveling and I can't run for whatever reason, I have started to use Pete Egoscue's exercises. Do any of you know about him? I've only recently come across him and come across this book. I'm not a Tony Robbins fan. Did I say that out loud? I'm not. But many of my friends who are say that every single major Tony Robbins conference or workshop, he mentions Pete Egoscue. Pete Egoscue, an American, came back from Vietnam, riddled with pain, and actually looked at, as a physiotherapist, how he could change his body. So, do you want to try it? Yep, let's quickly stand up. So I'm all for getting bang for our buck. And in terms of 5 minutes of looking at the early morning sun, this is what I do. I never stand and do nothing. I'm like, if I'm going to get my brain geared, I might as well get my body geared at the same time. So you don't want to stand with your feet apart like I do, like ballerinas do. If you can stand with your feet parallel and about 1 fist distance between your left and your right foot. So quite close together, and they're underneath your hips. And then if you could please do what we call the golfer's grip. So, Liz, will you hold that, and then I can talk. Thanks. So you're going to take your hands and put your knuckles together and your thumbs, like that right-hand picture. And then I'm going to ask you to put them to your temples. And what I do watching the sun is I simply do 10 of these. I mean, it's as simple as close your elbows. Yep, some of you can't. Thank you, Lizzie. Okay, so that is a very, very simple exercise to do on your balcony. And it's that simple. You can take a seat if you like. You can roll. Yeah, you do. Those biceps are working overtime. Is it Gary? Yes. Okay. Liz is a slow learner. So I don't have a to-do list when I wake up going, okay, Joni, do this, do this, do this. It is simply, you all have rituals like brushing your teeth, okay? So it's a ritual for me. I go and put the kettle on. If I'm not going for a run, I'll go to my veranda and I do my Pete Egoscue arm movements. I don't really feel like doing too many other movements at that time in the morning because I don't. So it's 5 minutes of looking into the sun and doing those little elbow movements, and that gets you going for the day. So decide on what your morning rituals are and what you're going to do. Mine are absolutely, it doesn't matter where I am in the world, I do those. Let's talk about power napping. Anyone in the room power nap and the habit of? Okay, fantastic. I always laughed at my daughters, you're never a prophet in your own home. So they went to Stellenbosch University, and I used to visit them and see what they're up to and say, possibly you could try this for exercise, or you could eat that, and they'd never listen to a word. And they always said to me, Mom, there's only one thing that we've taken from what you've told us that we do. I mean, it's just soul-destroying when your children don't listen to you. And that is power napping. So they are both masters of the 20-minute power nap. And this, again, is a cognitive flexibility trick. And I would love, and I know, David, I don't know about in Dublin, but in some Google offices around the world, they have those beautiful pods. And in the rest areas, you can go and lie in a pod, and there's white noise, and put the pod hood down and have your 20-minute power nap. So if I could wave a magic wand, every set of offices around the world would have a pod for power napping. In fact, I do quite a bit of work at Gibbs in Johannesburg, the business school, and I keep on saying to them, we need a power napping area. We need to walk this talk about resilience. So power napping is not that. Really brings your emotional centers and your cognitive prefrontal cortex together, and it's so simple and easy to do. So it is either 20 minutes or 90 minutes, nothing in between, because that's all got to do with your REM cycles, etc., etc. So I literally, if I'm going to power nap at home, I will take a glass of water, I'll go and put it at the other side. I never power nap in my bed. I always power nap in a lounge. So from a cognitive behavior therapist perspective, your bedroom is only for 3 things. What is that? Sex? Sleeping? Yes, that's right. And sex, sleeping, and reading. So you don't want to power nap in your bedroom if you can help it. So I go to the lounge, I'll put a mask on, I'll put the water at the other side of the lounge, I'll put my mobile phone also at the other side of the lounge, 21 minutes, set for 21 minutes later, lie down, wiggle my toes, I do 4-7-8 breathing, and relax and breathe, also giving myself permission not to fall asleep. Because there's nothing worse than kind of having this performance anxiety around your 20-minute power nap. Am I going to fall asleep? It's 10 minutes. I didn't fall asleep. How do I feel? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's just that really calming down of the brain. And it's interesting for me now, at a busy time of the year, that very often I'm not even getting to 20 minutes. I'm just breathing for 10 minutes. I'm probably not sinking into a good sleep. And then I'm getting up and I actually feel more refreshed after even 10 minutes. It's quite remarkable. I have done this power napping, actually. I do quite a lot of work for a company in Cape Town, in Belleville, and they do not have underground parking. In Johannesburg, a lot of my clients have got underground parking. But if I'm on that red-eye flight, 6 a.m. to Cape Town, means I'm up at 3:45, I've left the house at 4:30, etc. I'm jolly tired if I'm going to do a keynote talk or a workshop. And I'll park my car in the sun, I'll wind down the window. There's a great guy at this parking lot who knows me at the boom. And I say, listen, Phineas, do not wake me up, and I'm not dying. I'm just putting a mask on. And the one time, I kid you not, it was a hot day like today. He came to my window, and he said, Joni, you were even dribbling. I said, yes, I know how to power nap. I should teach you how to power nap. So it is a brilliant skill to have in your toolbox. And in my office, I have a little cushion, and sometimes on my floor, I'll power nap in my office as well. The neuroscience around it is really robust, and it's also fascinating that your synapses, so whatever you learn, you're growing these new brain cells, you want your brain cells to connect, that neuroplasticity only happens when you're in deep sleep and when you're power napping. So if you've just learned something, or you've just cracked a strategic direction you're taking your business in, actually quite a good idea to go and have a power nap. Because your brain hardwires that new learning, that new approach, and that creativity that might be needed around that. Okay, that's just a quick power nap. So at your desk, just 2 Post-it notes, eyes painted on them, and off you go, have a quick power nap. Okay, so that's power nap. Exercise, I'm not going to dwell on too much, but I have to say to you, for longevity of your brain and your whole ecosystem, exercise is a must. And I'm in the realm of saying to people who are time poor, 2-minute microbursts at your desk. Sitting is the new smoking. And what is really, really upsetting for me now is speaking to people around the world who are sitting at their desks for 12 to 14 hours a day. and they're sleeping in their beds for 5 to 6 hours a day. It's totally out of kilter. Backache, neck ache, all sorts of digestive problems, etc., etc. We have got to stop sitting for too long. Here's a horrible stat. It's actually in my book, is if you sit for longer than 2 hours, your good cholesterol goes down by 40%. We are just not designed to sit. We used to walk 12 to 18 kilometers per day when we lived in the veld. So if you could get this micro habit into place, and I don't do it easily. I have a little visual thing. I have a skipping rope on my desk here without the actual rope. I don't know if any of you have seen these. They're such fun. It's a skipping rope with a weighted ball. You can buy them on Take-A-Lot. I cannot coordinate skipping. I'm useless. So I thought, okay, I want to skip at my desk. I've got a messy desk. I need one of these chaps. They are just such fun. So that's on my desk as a reminder to skip. And then I literally look at my diary for the day. I plot out the meetings, and then I set a number of alarms. When my husband looks at my mobile phone, he says, why are there like 30 alarms? And I say, because I just set them in between meetings. I will get engrossed in whatever I'm doing, and I'll forget to move. So I literally set those to go off every 60 to 120 minutes, and then I'll skip, I'll jump. I've got a little mini trampoline outside my office, and I'll just get up and do that for 2 minutes. Play a good song, and it's a great kind of mental behavior breaker in your brain as well. So microbursts, if you're not doing any other exercise, this is the go-to. So here's a little fun thing. I couldn't run for some time, and I thought, okay, I've got to get ready for a trail run I was doing, and I decided to do 50 squats every hour on the hour. I did it as a little, so you go from 0 squats to 50 squats for the 8 hours that you're in your office. Let me tell you, you get fit quite quickly. No running. So cheat. Do some microbursts of activity. This is a really lovely one that I've started to do now, a Peter Gosky one, which I'm not going to get you to get up and do. He's quite famous for people who know about him, about this abdominal exercise. So it's really simple. I've had quite a few groups do it, and it's about this, this belly band that we have. So my challenge to myself is 60 seconds before I leave my bedroom in the morning. And it's 30 seconds, the one leg forward, and you just put weight on that front foot. You put the back leg at 45 degrees, and you just run for 30 seconds. Can I tell you that I can run 10 Ks without blinking an eye? I am huffing and puffing after 30 seconds. It gives you bang for your buck. 30 seconds this leg, 30 seconds the other leg, and I do my arms for 30 seconds. So I really do hope you have enjoyed that, and I hope that you are taking away 1 or 2 things that you're going to integrate into your life, not just a quick thing to do in the next week, but they do become rituals, they do become habits, and that sleep does become your excellent. Thank you, everybody, and thanks again to Nancy for bringing me down.